Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else, don't make me turn this website around.
Oliver in Illinois, thanks for waiting. You're on the Hang Up with me and Shannon. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Hello.
You have an incredibly interesting question, which I hope that one of the answers is, well, you could have your brain split in two, so you could do two things at once. But go ahead and ask your question.
That would be a very interesting solution to that issue. So when I was younger, I really enjoyed reading Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game. I really related to the character, and Orson Scott Card himself even describes the character as a very large humanist, and I always identified with him. I decided to pick it up recently, and I found out Orson Scott Card hated the character of Ender to a certain degree, and didn't identify with him, and was himself a staunch Mormon and very homophobic. And so now I'm having this issue of how do I separate a work that I love from a writer that I hate.
I'll tell you, a friend of mine who you know, or you may know from being on Atheist Experience Stuff, Johnny Angel, he and I had a long conversation about this the other day with regard to certain rock and roll singers. I mean, how do you, they did great songs and everything else, but some of them were incredibly shitty people. Right. What do you think, Shannon? How do you separate the art from the artist, or can you?
I think you can. And I know it's difficult to do so, but I think of a couple of things when I get in that situation. Like, for example, with J.K. Rowling. My kid loves Harry Potter. My kid loved Harry Potter before I found out that J.K. Rowling can go yeet herself into the sun. So the way I look at it now is the way that he appreciates the books is entirely divorced from who she is as a person. So the way he appreciates the books is not something that I should ruin for him, because what he gleaned from those books and those movies is something that I was able to guide him through, and something that he garnered value from. So I don't want to rip that from him any more than I think that I should tear it from myself if I'm in a similar situation. Now, what I won't do is, once I find out somebody like a J.K. Rowling is somebody that isn't worth supporting, is I will no longer actively support that. So that doesn't mean that I can't appreciate what I learned or gleaned from the art that they've previously created, or that I've taken on or found value in. What that means is that I'm no longer actively participating in supporting that person if I don't have to, because I can find another form of art. That doesn't mean that whatever I learned or whatever value I took from the art that they previously created is negated by them, because the art kind of transcends them. That's kind of what art is meant to do. It's not meant to be a representation of that person. It's meant to be something that others can interpret and imbue upon. That's kind of what art is. So it's no longer about them once they've created it. It's about the people who are consuming it. And that's how I kind of think about it. I don't know, there may be flaws in that, but I think that's how I approach it.
And for me, it's not just about...
That makes a lot of sense.
For me, it's not just about art, because like, I live in the world of debating. A terrible person can make a good argument. Someone who's wrong can make a good argument. Somebody could potentially... You're not going to dig a hole through the carpet no matter how hard you try, buddy, but go for it.
Love it.
And so when, I have to keep this in mind, because what a lot of people do, especially within the realm of debating about religion, is that they sit down and they know that somebody's advocating for God or Jesus or whatever, and they're already convinced that that person's wrong. Then it doesn't matter what argument they present, which puts them in a knee-jerk reaction thing, to where when the person defending Jesus or whatever presents an argument, and you instinctively know, oh, it must be wrong. And so I've watched atheist after atheist just go, well, that has to be wrong, even though I can't know why, type of thing. And so they deflect. And in some cases, including some rather prominent, well, moderately prominent individuals, they've done terrible jobs in debates because they're going off knee jerk and they didn't bother to listen or write it down. I can separate the person from what they do. Like, I love my mom, even though my mom has some really bad views on occasion. Yes, keep digging.
I love it.
It's only carpet. I'm assuming everybody can hear that because it's pretty loud here. But I can make that distinction. Now, what I will do is, like, if there's someone, like, if I'm going to listen to music from somebody and there's someone who I know to be terrible, I won't buy their albums. I'll listen to it on the radio when I hear it. I'll go look at it on YouTube or something where I'm not directly putting money in their pockets. And that's about as close as I can get, because I'm not throwing out my Harry Potter books or movies just because J.K. Rowling is awful. And by the way, she's not even the worst transphobe. It's just that every time that she does something transphobic and somebody tries to talk to her about it, she doubles down and gets defensive. And I'm like, if she would just have a conversation with somebody, I think, she could get there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, like, another important question to ask too is, if I never knew who made this, would it make a difference? Like, is my experience with this contingent upon knowing who created it and why? Or is my experience independent of that knowledge? And if your experience is independent of that knowledge, you shouldn't have guilt. You having the knowledge of who created it and what they're about doesn't have anything to do with your experience with their art. It just has to do, knowing who they are and what they're about is tainting that art for you. But if you had never found out, that art would not have been tainted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And on the record situation, I'm happy to have gotten my copies of his books secondhand, because now I feel a lot better about not having contributed monetarily to supporting him.
Good. That means you probably support.
It can be difficult, but I don't. If somebody says, "Hey, I won't listen to, support, or do whatever for this person here because of their bad ideas," I can. Well, we're kind of back to what we started the show talking about, in the sense that
yeah,
how you feel about it is how you feel about it. And if you want to draw a line and say, "Nope, I don't want any more to do with this," that's fine. And if you're like, "Yeah, I'm going to separate the art from the artist," and just try to make sure that I'm clear that while this person's awful, they can write good music or they can write a good book.
Yeah. And like, going back to what I said too, I want to make one final point because I just want to make this clear. If you find out about it and feel uncomfortable and feel like they're not worthy of support, you having a segregated experience from the art and the person doesn't mean that you should always feel comfortable supporting that person financially or continuing to. But everything's so nuanced. It's so nuanced. I guess I'm back to what I initially said, which is essentially kind of like, once I found out, I was like, you know what? You're gonna, like, we're reading a different series now. There's other books.
Yeah, there are lots of very good books out there that aren't as problematic.
I gotta move us along, Oliver. I hope that addressed the question a little bit. But you want to hang up on us, or you want me to hang up on you?
I just recently discovered you, Matt, and it would be awesome to be hung up on by you.
Are you absolutely sure? Oh, I got it before he could even say yes. By the way, for the person in the chat that said sounds like Matt's doing a Jeffrey Toobin, if that's what you think that sounds like, go see your doctor.
Who's Jeffrey Toobin?
Jeffrey Toobin was the guy in the Zoom meeting that got caught playing with himself.
Oh God! Oh, the reporter. Okay.
Yeah. That's not quite. If you think that's what it sounds like, go see your doctor.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.